Oh, it's gone. Hello everyone, I hope you guys are all well. Today I've got a slightly different video for you guys. Today I'm going to be filming the eyeshadow do's and don'ts. I have never filmed a video like this before, so please bear with me. I have seen quite a few people do this on YouTube, and I thought I would just create my own version and put my own spin on it and share some tips and tricks with you guys that some other people might have missed. So by no means am I taking credit for this video. I have not come up with this video idea by myself, but I hope you guys still enjoy it and find it helpful. Definitely don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, because I'd love to have you guys here. And if you would like to catch up with me on any of my social media, my Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat are all Roxaurus, same way it's spelled here. But without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. So starting off with the very basics of eyeshadow makeup, you cannot forget a primer. You and your eyelid primer are going to be the best of friends, especially when you're creating really heavy eye makeup looks. Using a primer just gives your eyeshadows to really cling onto something rather than just swiping over your bare skin. And then of course eyeshadow do is using a primer, because like I said, it's just going to step up your eyeshadow game big time. My next eyeshadow don't is actually applying a regular eyeshadow that you want to go with for that day directly onto the primer. And this is because sometimes when you apply a dark shade of eyeshadow directly onto the primer, when your brush first comes in contact with your skin, it can actually leave a massive blotch of powder in that place right there. And that is because it's really wanting to cling to the wet primer. And this in turn can actually make your eyeshadow much harder to blend out. Eyeshadow do is to actually place a base shadow over your lid after you put on your primer. And something I would personally use for this is something very close to your natural skin tone, or maybe even a shade lighter. And then you can just simply use any shadow to go on top of your base shadow, and it's just going to make the whole blending process much easier. My next eyeshadow don't is placing a really dark crease shadow directly onto your eye first thing. If you really want to go for that really seamless blend, then you really need to use a transition shadow. No matter how blendable the dark shadow that you're using is going to be, it's never going to give you that perfect blend and that nice fade out effect without that middle transition shadow. So for example, if I was to go with the shadow Whiskey into my crease, I would firstly place down the shadow Combust and then blend Whiskey into Combust. And that's just going to make your life so much easier because it's going to be really easy to blend out. My next eyeshadow don't is actually applying your foundation before you do your eye makeup. And I know I'm guilty of doing this the wrong way around, but you really should be using your foundation after you've done your eye makeup, because if your shadows tend to create a lot of fallout, you're just ruining your perfect base, and you're more than likely going to have to come back to your eye area and fix it up. My next eyeshadow don't links to my previous one, and that is to not apply concealer directly onto the fallout. This will just create a really muddy effect on your foundation or your concealer, so you want to actually dust off all the fallout first and then apply your foundation. The next eyeshadow don't is using shimmery shadows into the crease. Just my preference, so if you do that then that's totally fine if you like the look of that, but personally I feel like it looks quite unnatural, and when you're putting a darker shadow into your crease, most of the time you want it to look deeper, so you want it to look quite natural. And for this I would use a matte shadow instead of a shimmer shadow. Another eyeshadow don't is actually blending your eyeshadow too far up into your brow bone. I feel like a lot of people can get away with this if you have a big lid space and your eyebrow is quite high up, but for those of us who have quite small lid space and not that much space between your eye and your eyebrow, it's really important to not blend your shadow too high up, because you might end up looking like Ursula from Little Mermaid, and who wants that? It would be awkward if some people did want that. For my next eyeshadow don't is, by rule of thumb, when you have deep set eyes, which means your eyes are quite wide apart and they're not close to your nose, you shouldn't really be placing your eyeshadow on the outer corners so much that it elongates them even further. So when you're creating a smoky eye or any eyeshadow type that you like, try to keep your eyeshadow quite short and only up to the point where your eye ends, and do not extend it further. If you have close set eyes, the eyeshadow don't is to put dark shadow right here in the inner part of your eye. Instead, you should try to keep all of the dark pigment on the outer corners, and that will just create the illusion of your eyes being much wider apart. Now my next eyeshadow don't is not smoking out your lower lash line just as you do with your top lash line. When you're creating a smoky eye, you tend to use a crease shadow, a transition shadow, and a lid shadow. So for the lower lash line, it's no different. When you're placing down your dark shadow, you also want to smoke it out with that transition shadow that you've used in your crease. And the last point I'll be making in this video is about shadow brushes. I think it's really important to know which ones you should be using for what part of your eyeshadow routine. So my eyeshadow don't is applying your really pigmented shadow, like your lid shadow, with a fluffy brush. As soon as you pick up some shadow with this brush, it's just going to fly everywhere as soon as you try and kind of work it into your lid. So for really pigmented shadows for your lid, you should be using a brush that looks like this, and this is a shader brush, also known as a flat brush. So when you apply shadows with this brush, you want to pat it on rather than swiping it about. That is all for my video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had lots of fun making this video, so if you guys would like to see any more videos like this in the future, maybe like an eyebrow do's and don'ts or eyeliner do's and don'ts, then let me know down in the comments below. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave me a thumbs up. It helps me out so much, and subscribe if you're not already. We're really getting close to 1 million subscribers, which is insane. You guys are amazing. And yeah, that is all from me. If you guys want to catch up with me on my social media, my Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Roxsaurus. Also check out my blog at roxsaurus.co.uk. I promise I'm going to be posting on there more often. I hope you guys are having the best day ever, and I'll see you very soon in my next one.